Welcome back to Lost Legacies.
A Hidden City Book Company production.
I'm Matt,
And I'm Sam.
and we're back.
We're
The
back,
the the penultimate episode, the last episode before the last episode.
which I didn't realize until I finished this episode.
I've been counting them down every episode, and you're like, stop, stop.
Yeah, and you know what? At this point, I just kind of forgot. I just kind of glossed over my head. I was like, yeah,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
getting, like, I know we're getting there, but yeah.
Well, what else is new the past week? Oh, Oscars. How do you feel about the Oscars this year?
This more so than I think most years, I just truly wasn't invested because I didn't watch nearly anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
It,
just been like slowly I've just been watching less and less like new movies or like movies coming out like the year and yeah, the stuff that I did watch, last year, that came out last year, most of it didn't get nominated. So I'm like, okay,
yeah,
well,
yeah. Same
which
here.
isn't to say that, there weren't good picks among the nominees from stuff that I was hearing. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, like this is good or that actor
Hmm.
was good in that, but I am so behind. Uh I almost had an anxiety attack about it the other day and I had to just be like, hey man, it's just movies,
Yeah, yeah.
like it's all good.
I don't know. I typically don't watch all the movies that are nominated. I'm like, oh well, it is
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah. Which like it feels kind of weird to be like a movie fan
Hmm.
and to not really participate in
Hmm.
Hollywood's biggest night,
Yeah. And
you know?
I think part of it for me is that like it feels weird because I know there's good movies in the bunch. Even
Yeah.
if I don't like all of them or if certainly don't watch all of them. I know there's good movies in there, but I'm just like, I
Hmm.
don't feel like it.
It's become sort of like how I view the Super Bowl and
Hmm.
how I've always viewed the Super Bowl. Like
Hmm.
I don't really know who these teams are, but whoever most people are rooting for, I'll root for them. You know? Like
Yeah.
like like that's like that's
I
that's
just
kind of where I'm at.
I
It's like
just
okay,
want everyone
most
to have fun. You
yeah,
know?
I want everybody to have fun mostly, but I just really want America Perez to lose. Or I'm sorry,
Amelia.
Amelia Perez to
Yeah,
lose.
yeah, yeah. No, yeah, I get you. My theory is the reason they didn't really do the music. I think they performed Wicked, but that was it, right?
I think that was part of the opening though.
Yeah, there was other musical numbers throughout the show, but it didn't have anything to do with the music from
Yeah.
the not that was nominated. And I think just because like they didn't want to perform anything from Amelia Perez
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
when it was announced that they weren't doing performing any of the original songs, I was like, "Oh, thank God." Like,
I'm pretty sure that's why.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm just that movie still got some wins though. You know,
Yeah, unfortunately.
yeah. I was like, wow, okay. Yeah, but let me see. Haven't really been watching anything.
Me either. We started season 2 of Severance.
Oh yeah, yeah, okay.
Yeah. I'm liking it so far. I'm running into an issue where um and I think this was like Mickey's biggest reason why he didn't keep watching.
Hmm.
But to be fair, Mickey, I watched past the pilot and have now come to this conclusion. So I feel like
You
I have a more educated take on it.
you gave it a fair shot.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
When and like I still like the show, and
yeah.
I still think it's a very strong show. There's a lot of good stuff going on in it. And I think I'm already like predisposed to really liking a show like this.
Hmm.
But my thing is a thing that Mickey has told me before where it's like, um, you're writing the mystery, but you kind of don't know what the mystery is. Very
Hmm.
like a season 1 of Lost, where it's like we're trying to sort of fill the space,
Yeah.
but I feel like it's different here because it's sort of like one there are way fewer episodes than
Yeah, yeah.
this, you know. So what it is, it's like they're really focusing on like character and how characters are interacting and reacting to situations. And then plot wise, it is sort of like, okay, well, every answer comes with two more questions, that kind of a thing. It's like, okay, sure, but there are some where I'm like, I don't think you actually know what the answer to this is,
Hmm.
and you might not really be interested in answering it at all.
Mm,
So I
hmm.
think you're just kind of doing this to add to the mysteriousness of the world without really any uh,
Yeah.
with kind of without a forethought and without any intention to answer that question, you know.
Hmm. Kind of like Lost.
Sort of like Lost.
That's interesting because I was thinking about it season 2 the other day of Lost and how like where did they go wrong, you know? And we talked about it a lot. We talked about it for what like 23 weeks when we were watching
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And it was a big thing of how season 1 is great because it's definitely a slow burn and we don't know what to expect. So
Hmm.
everything is just like a mystery and new and fresh. But then by the time you get to season 2, it felt like a lot of filler. And I think it
Yeah.
started feeling more and more like what you're saying, like they don't know what the answer is, you know,
Hmm.
or they're trying to, or they do, but they're trying to like postpone it as long as they can.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of filler in that season, and there's a lot of like just low points and downtime. And it's like you have to build on that first season. You can't just replicate it. Like I don't know. It was weird. I'm just kind of thinking out loud right now, but that's something because I was thinking about like why exactly did I feel like season 2 was the weakest, especially now that we're almost done with this last season and all the issues we had with it. I'm like, okay, so like what's the differences? And I really feel like season 2 was just I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know, but I think it's running into a same situation that you just were talking about with Severance. You know, like I either they didn't know what they're actually like the answers to their own questions,
Hmm.
or they were just trying to postpone it as long as possible. I know
Yeah.
I just said that. I just repeated myself, but yeah,
That's okay.
yeah. I was
Some
trying to
things
go
bear
somewhere with
repeating.
it. I was trying to go somewhere with it, and I just wrapped it around and repeated it. Double
kind
down.
kind of like Lost.
Kind of like Lost. Yeah, yeah. Were there any surprises from the Oscars?
Ooh.
I think The Brutalist actually. I know it's getting some hype, but like it kind of came out of nowhere because it was very I think it's probably the latest released.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, the fact that Adrian Brody won for that. And I don't know, I don't know if it won anything else.
I think it may have won score.
Hmm. Oh, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, not
Um
much else, but I take issue with Adrian Brody. One, just like as a person, and then
ooh,
two, uh, uh, I don't think he should have been nominated for that performance.
really?
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Wow.
dude. Because it was a whole thing. Like, I feel like a month ago or so, maybe even a little longer. Um, I think when they were like getting steam on their Oscar campaign,
Hmm.
they came out that they used AI voice enhancements for Adrian
Oh,
Brody because he couldn't nail the accent.
yeah, I did
And
hear
so
about that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, okay, that automatically disqualifies your performance then. Like you're
Hmm.
you're being given an undue advantage and an unfair advantage over your, you know,
Hmm.
over everybody else, everybody else who's now being nominated for their roles because they tried,
Yeah.
like they're putting in their whole effort. It's like, look,
Yeah.
if you can't do an accent, you can't do an accent. That's fine.
I'm curious, at what point did they do that though?
Oh, I don't know.
Because, like, you know, was he already done? Was he gone? Was it in the edit that they did it?
Hmm.
You know, it doesn't really solve the issue that you're talking about, but I think that does make a difference. Like, did the actor know? while they were making it that they were going to mess with his voice like that.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, man, that's weird. That's
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. That sucks. And now knowing that, I was like, oh man, his win kind of paints it in a different light. You're like, huh,
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know. I'm curious. Like, yeah, at what point did they add the AI? I don't know. Yeah. So and then Timmy Chalamet, he's probably going to be in his 40s by the time he gets his first Oscar, just like Leo.
Hey man, that's fine. You know how many other actors have been nominated and not won anything?
Dude,
Or
oh,
just
I know.
or just not been nominated their whole career when they probably should have?
Yeah, and
Like it's
Timothy
fine.
Chalamet's so young. He's got,
Yeah.
journey ahead of. Has Saoirse Ronan ever won an Oscar?
No.
No, she's been nominated a lot.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
wow. So if Tim's the next Leo, Saoirse's the next Meryl.
I was gonna
No,
say yeah.
is it Meryl? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Because
because she's
she,
she's been nominated most of her career and she's only won twice.
yeah,
And the second time was like only like maybe 5 or 6 years ago.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I just saw the trailer for Mobland, the new Guy Ritchie series,
Uh,
starring Tom Hardy, Pierce Brosnan, and
ooh.
Helen Mirren. I was like, "Oh,
Whoa.
this is cool!" Like, I just saw the trailer. I'm like, "This looks really rad," and then it says new series premiering in March. Like, this is a show. Like,
That's
that's
wild.
cool. Yeah. Um.
TV's the new movies.
Yeah. I uh. I want to check out The Gentleman because I keep seeing clips, and I'm like, I
Oh,
like
that's
this.
right. Yeah,
Like,
they did
I'm
make that
liking
into a
McConaughey in
show.
this. I'm liking Charlie Hunnam, Colin Farrell. I'm like, okay, yeah, I want to check this out.
Hmm.
And then I know they did like the show, which was a spin-off of it. I was like,
Hmm.
okay, they should do a spin-off of Lost. Oh, we already talked about that.
No, we talked about that.
We're kind of watching it right now.
From.
From oh well, speaking of which, I sent you a text today. I've discovered Reddit, and I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago. Like I found my old account and I logged back in,
Yeah.
and I forgot what it was. It was like I was following like Dungeons and Dragons and like Star Trek Online. It was very few things, and then like Lindsay Morgan from The 100. And I was like, okay, all right, this is a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so now I've been getting on it more, and I've been just reading stuff throughout the Lost Reddit, and uh, there was one today. This guy talking about him and his girlfriend. They're like, we just started it. Like, why did no one tell us this show was so good? Like, we had kind of always heard about it, but we never really heard people talking about it.
Yeah.
And he's like, and we heard it from the creator of From. So we're like, oh, let's go check it out. I was like, wow, that's funny.
That's
Um,
funny.
yeah. And it's also funny too, because once Damon Lindelof started doing more things, like after Watchmen, a lot of people started watching Lost. They're like, well, let's see what else he's done,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And it goes through phases because it was the same thing after The Leftovers. They're like,
Yeah.
let's see what else he's done. So it's like every time he has a project, like a show, and it ends, they're like, let's see what else he's done. They
Yeah.
go to try Lost, and yeah, he was saying that like they're in. I think they were in season one still, and he's like, yeah, who's your favorite character? And blah blah blah. This is exciting. I'm like, it feels so good, just to find people still, discovering it.
Yeah.
Um,
I'd
there's
be
this.
Oh, sorry, go
No,
ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say like I'd be curious. I know you watch a lot of like reactions
Yeah.
and like YouTube reactors and all that.
Mhm.
I think I'd be interested to watch people reacting to Lost.
Yeah.
Now having like seen it, because
Yeah.
that's always the thing. Like there was some I think it was like in season 4 where I was like, man, this is so good. Kind of want to restart it.
Yeah.
Like I could like even though I'm still watching it, it's like I want to rewatch it. So it's like I think that's a good sort of way to like curb that so I don't necessarily have to
Yeah.
watch the whole thing. I
Yeah,
just
that's
watch whatever everybody else is, reacting
yeah.
to.
That's pretty much what I do because, if you don't want to sink like 100 plus hours into the show,
Yeah.
You can do it that way as long as you find a good like reaction channel that you like.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, like I don't know. I know and that's something I'm kind of surprised of how like there isn't a lot of new Lost content like coming out. I thought there would be for the anniversary and stuff.
Mm,
But like I haven't really found other reactors currently watching Lost,
mm,
this year or last year. Um I thought there would be a lot more, and it's maybe that's one of the shows that all the reactors already watched, you know.
yeah.
I don't know. I know there's a lot and of course there's so many people on YouTube like I'm sure I'm just looking at this one group, I'm not seeing
Oh
the whole
yeah.
spectrum, but like just based on my algorithm, there's a lot of people reacting to Star Trek Next Generation, you know. Um, the reason I watch target audience is because like they're the only ones who are watching all of Star Trek. So
Mm,
they started with the original series, then they did the animated series, then they did Next Gen, and they're doing the movies as they come out. Whereas most people just skip to Next Gen. A lot of people skip like the first two seasons of Next Gen,
mm,
which I get it. The quality may not be as good as the rest of the show, but like you
hmm
lose a lot of character development through those first two seasons.
hmm
Um,
You know, like I don't want to harp on this for too long, but like that's kind of my issue with like how like I get doing that from like a fan perspective if you've already seen the show
yeah,
and
yeah,
you've
yeah, yeah.
already like sunk in the hours and you're like, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
like there's a few episodes I like in season 1 and 2. So I'll watch those, but then I'll just jump straight into season 3. Like that I
Yeah.
understand. But it's kind of the thing too where like I remember back in the day like Supernatural, every like the fandom was huge, more people were coming in every day, and there were straight up people that were just like, "Oh yeah, you can skip the first 3 seasons."
Hmm.
Because they really just wanted to watch as soon as Castiel came in season 4. And I'm like,
Hmm.
you're missing everything.
Yeah.
Like we're not even gonna mention like all the sort of like lore,
Hmm.
that you're missing out on to help you with the context of the show. You're missing all the character stuff. You're missing
Yeah.
who these people are.
Hmm.
And yeah, like I don't understand that.
It's like you either want to watch the show or you don't. Like,
Yeah.
and for everyone saying that, it's like, dude, you had an experience. Let them have the experience too.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like I don't know. And then from the audience perspective, it's just like, you want to watch it or not? If you just want to watch the Castiel stuff, fine, but it's not going to hit you as hard. Your
Yeah.
experience is never going to be as um fulfilling as it was to everyone else because you didn't get all the other stuff. You
Yeah.
didn't see Sam and Dean's relationship in season one, which was different by the time they got to seasons four and five and so on. You know what I mean?
hmm hmm
So you don't get the foundation of them looking for their dad all of season one, you know?
hmm
Uh yeah, so I don't know. I don't get it, man. It's just like, guys, it's just TV. 1
Yeah.
hour a night. That's all you need. Like if you want to watch more, go for it. But it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
um, yeah, man, I don't get it. So, but at the same time, there's also, our attention spans are getting shorter, and
Yeah.
we feel like we need to like be distracted. Like I don't know, like we're so afraid of like silence and sitting still. Like our brains always need to be moving. So
hmm
I think that is a cool thing to do if to watch reactions if you're a fan and if you've seen it, kind of like what you said.
Yeah.
So you don't
Yeah.
have to invest watching the whole thing. Like, so really the only thing I'm doing that with is The Expanse. Because I'm
Oh
watching
yeah.
the reactions, but I'm watching the full uncut reactions with target audience.
hmm
Whereas everything Star Trek, I'm watching their edited ones. Gallifrey Girls, they do that and they're watching Lower Decks right now. So it's just like, and because I'm watching a shorter episode,
hmm
I can watch more.
Yeah.
It's not just one or two episodes of this a night. It's like, no, you can watch a couple because like they're shorter than the actual thing.
hmm
So, and it brings back the memories. It's like, oh yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what I was doing with Battlestar for a while because Gallifrey girls are watching Battlestar.
Mm.
I'm like, I'm like, I missed this show. I should watch the whole thing again.
We were last year. I think we were like getting ready for our trip to LA,
Uh-huh.
and I needed something to put on while I was like making sure all the dishes in the kitchen were taken care of. So I opened up my laptop and I put on the mini series.
Man,
It
did you
was
get
great.
anything
It
done?
was like 3 hours, and I was just there doing dishes, and I'm like, frack,
For
I'm invested
3 hours.
again.
Yeah, you were doing it for 3 hours because you kept stopping and starting.
Mm-hmm. Even told myself I was like, I'm not gonna start rewatching it. I'm not gonna start rewatching it.
Yeah, yeah. It's rad. I'm curious how I would feel about it now, you know, kind of the
hmm
way, not really that my opinions of Lost have changed. It's just I'm kind of surprised of the things
Of
I through
Battlestar?
well, I haven't rewatched Battlestar, you
Yeah, but
know?
you said like your opinions of Lost have changed.
Well, yeah, like this whole process, these last 4 years, the things I thought I liked about Lost,
Right.
I mean, most of them I still do, but like I was surprised that like some of the things I didn't enjoy that first go around, I really enjoyed this
Yeah.
time. And then
Yeah.
vice versa. So I'm really curious how I would feel about Battlestar, especially like those last two seasons, because I think that's where a lot of the more, division amongst the fandom comes from, those last two seasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like I'm curious to see, like, okay, how did they do this? How did it play out? Especially because last season was wild because it was like it took 2 years to tell that one season story.
hmm hmm
So, but especially after last week's Lost episode, I was surprisingly glad that we got to this one, and I'm like, man, this is pretty good.
Yeah.
I really like it. It kind of reminds me of the finales, the season finales, where it's like they're usually two-parters, and the first part's kind of just setting up the next one. That's
Yeah.
what I really felt here. Um, Season 6, episode 16, What They Died For. The gang finally meets Jacob, and he
hmm
explains everything, I
Kind of.
guess. Kind of. Yeah.
Yeah.
As soon as he showed up this episode, I'm like, oh, he's back to being this Jacob again. Oh well.
hmm
Um,
hmm
but no, man, a solid episode. I loved it. Yeah, everything. I love the off island. I love the island was cool and like how it was like, okay, one of you's gonna have to choose who's gonna become like the caretaker of this island. And
hmm
it's like Jack steps up, like, oh man, okay, he's bought in.
hmm
Wow. But I almost wrote no notes through this whole thing. Um, I only wrote notes when I got emotional. It's like, oh geez. So what did you think with this one?
uh this one was weird because I think like all the Jacob stuff I was so frustrated with, but everything else I was just like, man, I'm really into this. This is really good.
Yeah.
And then all the Jacob stuff is happening. I'm like, okay, finally, you're explaining stuff. You're still not really explaining stuff.
Hmm.
And then I had to pause and be like, but you don't even really know why you're doing this, and you're asking somebody else to do this.
Yeah.
So like I got
Yeah.
caught up in like the logistics of like how this transition is gonna work. Because if you think about it, Jacob doesn't even know why he's protecting the island. He was never told that. So
Yeah.
then he's out here, telling Jack the same thing. Oh, and then this is a nitpick, and I promise this will be the only nitpick of the episode.
Uh-oh.
But he gets the water and he like is that where he does it? No, he gets the water and he like runs his hand through it, grabs Jack's cup, fills it to the top, and then starts saying something in Latin, but we don't hear what he says, and then he just gives it to Jack.
Hmm.
And in my head, I'm like, is he gonna tell Jack this? Like, is he going to pass this part of the information on to Jack?
Mm-hmm.
So that when the time comes, Jack can,
Yeah.
give over, control of the island to somebody else. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think so. And I, I'm sorry. That was just a minor thing.
No. I
So, no, it's not really important, but it was just the thing that I got upset at.
I get that. I think the Jacob we saw in the last episode isn't the Jacob we see now
No.
because who knows how many centuries have passed, you know?
Yeah.
So he's learned things about the island, and I'm assuming that's going to be Jack. You know, he even asks him, he's like, "How long do I have to do this?" And he says, "For as long as you can."
Hmm.
So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's more of a job that you learn as you go. You
Mm.
know, you can't really be taught.
Convenient.
Well, yeah, it's convenient, but also it's to me that's more magical, you know. I don't want to see a character have to go through training to accept it. You know what I mean? Like I kind of like the trial by fire, like, hey, you got to figure it out.
Okay.
So, but you
So your
know,
least favorite Star Wars movie is The Empire Strikes Back.
no, I mean, well,
I'm joking. I am joking. I
yeah,
get what you, I
that's
get.
different because he's
I
training
definitely get what you're
himself.
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, but again, he has the mentor.
Yeah.
Like, well, yeah, I don't know, but like, what I'm getting at is like, okay, I want to come back to this, but I'm going to jump to another scene real quick
Okay.
to kind of illustrate my point. The scene where Jacob is talking to everyone at the fire and
Hmm.
he's being vague and all this shit, and then he is telling them a little bit, but I'm like, we as the audience already know this.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I don't care about this. Like, I want new info. I want something, you know. I don't want to see him have to break down everything and explain it to them. I don't want him to have to tell his whole life story of what happened, you know, explain how the smoke monster is his brother and all this stuff. Like, I didn't want any of that. So I'm glad we didn't get that. I'm actually surprised we didn't get back from commercial and he had already told them. I was like, that's what I
Mhm.
thought was going to happen. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, thank God, because that's equally as bad. Um, but you know, but it's like the scaffolding. You know, it's like I don't want to see that. You know, I don't want to see. He's like, okay, Jack, when it's time to replace someone, you need to say these words into this cup and all this. I know that that's important, but like, I don't care.
Sure.
You know what I
Sure.
mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. And I think because of that, because it, you know, it's kind of like the, well, we talk a lot about D&D and game mechanics. Like it kind of takes the magic out of it all of a sudden. It's like, oh, okay, I want to do this really cool thing. Well, let's see if the rules allow it.
Yeah.
You know, that's where it's like, oh, okay.
It's
That's why you
like
need a good dungeon master.
it's yeah, exactly. It's like the beginning tutorial in any like fantasy video game where it's like we must go forward beyond this cliff face.
Uh-huh.
Press the arrow button to go up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, or like in games where you don't know where to go, so you look at the map and there's like an arrow. Or
Hmm.
the really bad ones where like you see like a trail on the path,
Hmm.
you know, and it's like bright yellow, like, oh, I guess I gotta go this way. The only game it worked really well for was Mirror's Edge, because like the whole world is white. So when you see
Yeah.
red, you're like, okay, I gotta follow that. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
God, I love that game so much.
I think like a lot of developers have actually come out and said that like they have to put things like that in the games because otherwise people really don't know where to go, you
Well,
know? So they should like it varies on like what game you're playing and like, you
yeah.
know, so it's like yeah, like it's just the thing that like it is kind of hard for a lot of people.
Yes, but at the same time, there's also a lot of the studio execs really trying to
Mm.
dumb down video games.
Oh,
And
yeah, okay,
a
that's
big
fair.
example that they're showing is the latest Dragon Age game,
Mm.
which got a lot of hate from the fandom. Just to the overall style, the vibes, the writing. But if you look at the screen as you're playing, it looks like a mobile game because there's all this
Really?
like the interface and your powers are over here, and when someone's going to attack you can see like the screen lights up to kind of charge it. I'm like, yeah, this kind of looks like a mobile game. There's like so
Hmm.
much on the screen. You're like playing a game with like the Iron Man interface, you know, like, oh, what, you know, like it's just,
Oh, weird.
yeah, like, oh
Huh.
man, that sucks. little flashing lights telling you which direction to go. And it's like they think,
Hmm.
the audience is so dumb. With something like Dragon Age, where the audience is already a little older and like it's such a immersive, deep lore kind of world. And then
Hmm.
they kind of just ruin it like this, and
Yeah,
like,
that's
oh, that's a
weird.
bummer. I know a lot of people they enjoyed it for what it was, but they're like, yeah, it's definitely the weakest in the series. They really dumbed it down a lot. It's
Mm.
like, damn. So but yeah, so getting back to to Lost, and I really think uh last week's episode, especially with this now with the context that we have,
Hmm.
it's both good and bad. Like I think it's cool to see the context for the Man in Black, see like his perspective and his story, but all the Jacob and the island caretaking stuff, I'm like, okay. It just again, it kind of you're kind of adding more uh of the scaffolding. I'm like, I don't need to see this. Like, and now Jacob is still being super vague when even though we don't know a lot of like there's still a lot we don't know. We saw
Hmm.
last week's episode. So the audience gets it, you know?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
we don't need him to still be vague. Like, I don't understand. Like, well, I think it's the Severance thing. I don't think they fully know how to answer their own questions, you know?
Hmm. Yeah.
Lost. I'm talking about Lost.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
yeah. I think to your point too, like I think maybe the writers are also trying to do a thing of like we don't want to answer too much because yeah, then it ruins the mystique of it, you know?
yeah, that's
And
that's a balance you gotta find.
yeah, yeah. And truly I do think that like yeah, like that's kind of that's the good and bad thing about Lost is that you really can like pass it off as like bad writing, but I do also feel like in a way like there isn't gonna be an answer that satisfies.
Hmm.
It's like if you specifically tell me straight up this is exactly 100% definitively what the island is for, then I feel like you know in the wrong hands it's gonna it's gonna dissatisfy, you
Yeah,
know and I
yeah,
guess like this was sort of like the crossroad of like, hey, we don't really want to answer it, so we're going to give like a partial answer or a half answer, or like, hey, whatever the island is, it is now the only thing that is stopping this evil force from entering the world, and that would be
yeah.
bad. So it's like, all right, that explanation in itself, it's like, all right, I'll take it.
But also, that's where the smoke monster comes out of. The
Yeah, I'm
heart of the
like,
island. Like I don't,
yeah,
or was the heart of the island corrupted? Like I'm cool with
like
them
it
being
need a little
vague.
bit more,
Yeah, I'm fine with them being vague just to make it more mysterious and magical. But like when
yeah,
you throw stuff that like I feel like that's something we need an answer.
yeah.
And like I don't know. So and all of this is kind of critiques of the last episode, not really this
This
one,
episode, yeah.
because I think they really kind of skipped over a lot of that. They were able to uh skip the cutscene, if you will,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know. But yeah. So I think this was a much better episode for sure.
mhm.
And yeah.
I will say,
Uh-huh.
I feel like uh, I don't know. I think they're getting a little too kill happy now. It's like,
That's true. But at the same time, it's like, well, there's just one episode left now. So now it's like, huh.
I mean, yeah, that's true. It's like if people are gonna die, like it might as
Yeah.
well be now. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think there could be something to be said about like, let's maybe spread these out, guys. Like, you
Yeah.
know,
I'm we don't know what happened to Richard. Is he
I'm I'm
dead?
I'm pretty sure he's dead.
Right? I'm like, I would have thought Richard's death would have been more dramatic.
Yeah, but I also feel like I mean, I feel like they wrote it in a way where it was like yeah, we already know Richard's character. Like if he's in
Yeah.
a corner like this, he will try and talk his way out of it. This dude doesn't want to talk.
Yeah.
It's
And
like
then
yeah.
Widmore's death, I just felt like was very like it was a great scene. It was good. I was like, okay, I thought it would have had more umph. Like, I don't know. I
Hmm.
kind of like the way it comes out of nowhere that Ben's the one who kills him. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's
I
just
did
like, I
too.
don't know. It just felt kind of like, okay, that's done. Moving on. I'm like, all
Yeah,
right. Well, it felt like, okay, guys, we only have X amount of minutes left to tell this story. We got to start killing off characters here. I'm like,
yeah,
oh, okay. And the fact that like Whitmore actually believes Ben and he's like, okay, I'll hide in the secret room. Like it just seemed rushed. That reunion felt rushed.
yeah.
Reunion and then dead. I was like, oh, okay.
But I will say that like the entire thing that makes it work for me is
Hmm.
the relationship between the Man in Black and Ben.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I like it's an interesting thing where it's like I don't know that the Man in Black truly likes anyone,
Yeah.
and I don't think he likes Ben, but
Hmm.
I think he is so intrigued by Ben
Hmm.
because Benjamin Linus is the type of person who will immediately jump ship and go to the opposite team if
Hmm.
it even remotely favors his chances.
Yeah.
Like Benjamin Linus really is the character who's playing 4D chess, where like we don't really even know what you're doing,
Hmm.
but really all of his moves are just to make sure he comes out on top.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think again, I don't want to harp on this again for too long, but how did how do we go from the man in black in last week's episode who dies and turns into smoke, and how did he become who he is now?
Mm,
Like because we even said like he didn't do anything wrong. He was the victim. He was kind of fighting back and trying to defend himself. But like this character now, he's just a completely different person. Um, and it could be because of his experience on the island these last couple centuries. But like that's we haven't seen that, and I think that's what's missing with last week's episode. Okay,
yeah,
that's fine. What a great little nice story, but that doesn't explain how we are here and now. Like
yeah,
I feel like we're missing something really important. How is that guy the same villain here? Is he actually being corrupted by the smoke monster? Is he the smoke monster? Like I just don't know.
yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah, well, say la vie. To each their own.
Yep.
Desmond's alive. I mean, I think we all could have seen that coming.
Yeah, for sure.
Uh, we don't know who pulled him out of the well. Like,
I
Jack and
mean,
Party knew
it was
about it.
sure it was Saeed.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Well,
Yeah.
but he even tells Jack, he's like, Desmond's in the well before he dies.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I'm like,
Huh.
does Miles know? Like, Miles is alive. He goes off on his own. He's like, hell
Yeah.
no, I'm getting out of here. I don't know who else. I don't know. But Desmond is alive in the
Mhm.
alternate timeline as well. But
Yes.
last thing about the island, what was I gonna say? How does it end? Oh yeah, it ends with Man in Black basically telling Ben, he's like, I need to find Desmond because I'm gonna try and destroy the island. I was like, oh
Hmm.
crap, okay.
Which is just the Man in Black reneging on his promise that if
Again.
Ben kills the people that he needs him to
Hmm.
kill, he'll let him have the island. And I'm like, what are we doing here, guy? Come on.
Yeah, yeah,
What's going on? Uh yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Again, that
Um,
I feel like that's also a nitpick. I'm I'm just being, facetious about. I don't really care.
yeah. Yeah, I know. I mean, maybe he just got more upset now, or had to deal with what Widmore told him. Like
Oh
Desmond can
yeah, yeah.
destroy this island or whatever.
Yeah, it's like
So
actually there won't be an island, so good luck, man.
yeah, yeah. But let's talk about the alternate timeline.
Yeah.
Chef's kiss, multiple chefs, multiple kisses
This
to
is
each other.
exactly, exactly. This is, as the kids say, the sauce.
The
This is it
sauce?
right
Is that a
here.
thing now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna have to appropriate it, kids. They're cooking now. I I got super emotional when Russo shows up.
Dude, the second like she wasn't even on screen, and when Alex was like talking in the car, like I
Uh,
I, I started tearing up. I was like, oh no, it's Russo, isn't it? And then she
and
showed up. I was like,
and
oh
she comes out as a completely different character. You
yeah.
know, this is her without all that trauma, and like, oh my God,
Mm-hmm.
dude, she seems happy,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, oh, that was good,
Oh
man. And then they
man.
don't just end there. They have dinner at the house, and she
Mm-hmm.
explains how Ben is the closest thing Alex has to a father, and he gets super Michael fucking Emerson.
Mm-hmm.
He turns away and is tearing up, and he grabs a plate, and when he walks back you could tell like he's not crying, he holds it down, which is excellent acting, but you still just see it on his face, and I'm like, how do you do that? How do you get yourself there? You had to do that in two different shots. That's two different setups, which means mentally you have to stay in that state of mind for that,
Mm-hmm.
and however
Mm-hmm.
long it takes to do that second setup and multiple takes. And I'm like, oh, dude. Oh, man. Like, oh,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah. And I love that he got the crap beat out of him by Desmond,
Yeah, it's
It was
yeah.
just, he had a busy episode.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So, uh, what else? Desmond shows up. Oh, he turns himself in. he, uh, then he meets up with Saeed and Kate. I'm like, I am loving this so much.
Mhm. And then they immediately have a jailbreak,
Dude, I
like
know. I was like, oh, a little heist going on. One last
this is
heist. I'm like,
crazy. Oh
okay.
man. I know this was probably the only feasible way that it's possible. It kind of sucks that it's Ana Lucia that's taking this bribe money.
Oh, I know.
I'm like,
I was like,
man, it's like you're not beating the corrupt cop allegations
yeah,
at all.
yeah,
And
no. But I love it, dude. When she shows up, I was like, yes. I was like, hell yes, Ana Lucia. And then
mhm,
Desmond even says, because Hurley asked, she's like, isn't she coming with? He's like, no, she's not ready yet. I'm
yeah,
like, all right.
nice not knowing you. She takes off. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, all right.
Man, that was fun. So,
And now they're all gonna go off because they're gonna have to crash the concert,
mm-hmm,
the concert that Jack's son is playing at tonight.
mm-hmm.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
Yep.
Man, like I love this alternate universe Desmond. Like just a completely like strange strange man, has more
Mm-hmm.
money than God and
Mm-hmm.
is just feels very morally corrupt. Dude, when we see him again, he's outside of the school watching Locke get out of his van and he immediately puts his car into gear because he's gonna hit him again.
I thought he was gonna hit him again. I was like, what the heck?
Like, are you serious? Oh man.
But speaking of Locke, he decides to go through with the procedure.
Yeah.
I was like, and I like how he's telling Jack, you like, maybe this is meant to be and stuff like that,
Hmm.
and Jack's still like, I don't know about that, but we're gonna do our best, you
Hmm.
know.
Yeah, if it felt like a very like early in their relationship sort of talk. But I feel like Locke even goes a little bit further, into saying like, okay, fine, like maybe it's not fate, or maybe it's not coincidence,
Mm,
or no. It's like it's not coincidence, but something. I feel like he said this before. It's like we're being put together for a reason. Like these
yeah,
things are happening for a reason. I'm like, that's a very John Locke thing. It's like seeing that, like, yeah, fine, could be
yeah.
coincidence, but what if it's not?
I kind of wish Jack had a moment like that too, because he could have said, I told you why I was in Australia and my father died and we
Hmm.
went to go get his body. Well, a couple days ago, I found out he had a second family,
Hmm.
and his daughter, my sister, was on Oceanic Flight A15.
Hmm.
Because the last episode we saw him, he ran into Bernard and he was finding more coincidences. That's where he met Claire for the first time. I was like,
Hmm.
yeah, dude, like he's got to be like, this is too crazy.
Like at some point, you got to just be
This
like, this is
plane like
beyond coincidence.
changed
Yeah.
my life. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, man. That would have been like an awesome like novel, how this one plane flight like changed the lives of everyone on board.
Hmm.
And then the sequel will be the horror story, how something bad happens to everyone on board.
Like they crashed on an island.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Far
Well,
from home,
oh
they're
jeez.
not
Well, I was
alone.
thinking more something like season four, where it's just like something's not right, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But but yeah,
They make it. But at
yeah.
what
I
cost?
guess it's kind of like Final Destination.
Oh, well,
They survive,
yeah.
but not for long. This is just a solid episode. It was rad. I loved it.
Hmm.
I'm.
Oh, and we found out well, according to Desmond, they found Jack's dad.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Did they really, or is it another setup?
That, see, that's what I want. But
Right?
as soon as I saw that it was Desmond, I was like, a man with that much money and resources, yeah, I'm pretty sure
Oh,
he would have found the body.
and Desmond's with Kate, so
Yeah.
he's gonna bring Kate and Jack together somehow.
Hmm.
He's gonna
They're
open the
gonna have
coffin,
a.
and it's Kate. Kate pops out. What's going
Mhm.
on? I don't know why, not to be mean or anything, but I like injured Kate. It's just something about vulnerable Kate in this episode, which just adds like some kind of complexity to her that we haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah.
You know, when Jack is stitching her up, she looks scared, but she's also pissed. She wants to
Hmm.
kill the man in black, you know? And I'm like, yeah, man, like finally, like it's been a long time since we really had like uh, I don't know, Kate. Like, I don't know, she's always
Hmm.
been like manipulative and secretive and like I don't like that Kate. It's just not a well-written character,
Yeah.
you know? But to actually let those emotions out, I was like, that's what I'm talking about.
Hmm.
You can
Hmm.
write emotionally complex characters without making them boring and annoying as hell.
Yeah.
You know, like I think we saw that this episode. Also, we found out her name got scratched off the list because she became a mother. But she's still eligible to be the one who takes over if she wants it.
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, that's interesting.
Which doesn't make sense because Sun became a mother.
Yeah, I know. So I'm
So
guessing
why were
maybe it was Jin who was on the list then.
yeah, because he was yeah, because it was sort of like, well, like I don't want to cross the name out so that I can remember that it's, or whoever can. It's like that's kind of what that feels like. It's like I
Yeah.
won't cross this off because I know what this means. Anybody else who finds it, they're not gonna know jack shit, you know?
Yeah, true. I mean, but
Like
again,
like
like it that would have been really interesting. Like what if Jin's the one who takes over the island? Like
right.
could have been.
Yeah. I do like that moment where, Sawyer, Kate and Hurley are watching, Jacob and Jack like do their whole thing
Yeah.
and Hurley just straight up says like, I'm just glad it's not me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah.
And I like the
Yeah.
scene where Sawyer's talking about he's like, I got all my friends killed, you know? And
Hmm.
Jack's like, no, he did that. He's like, yeah, I
And
get it. Yes and
me as the
no.
audience member, I'm like, no, it was you, Sawyer. I
It
need you to
was
feel that pain for a little bit longer.
yeah.
But
I
like
wish
he's
we could
right
have
though.
got some of that with Sawyer. You know, like the Han Solo in The Force Awakens, he's like, it was all real, all of it. You know, I wish
Hmm.
we kind of got that Sawyer at some point.
Like
So
that, like this is sort of my thing. Like I feel like this was a really good episode,
yeah.
and I know that we are sort of like critiquing it apart, but still really enjoyed it, especially after like last week's episode. Like this was
Hmm.
a big return to form. Like you said it when we started talking about it, like this feels like the classic episode before the finale where everything's being set up.
Hmm.
But truly, I do feel like this this episode was rushed because I feel like
Hmm.
the end, like my thing is the end of, we'll just say a three-part finale. The end
Hmm.
of the three-part finale, part one, is where everybody meets up with Jacob. Because I feel like that needs to be a longer conversation. Because it just
Hmm.
felt so like this is it. Everybody can see Jacob. That's a huge thing.
Yeah.
You know, Hurley even starts doing the translation, and everyone's like, "We see him, Hurley." And you're
Hmm.
like, oh wow, like everybody can see this guy now. It's like this is the moment where everybody needs to air out their frustration, hear the hard truths, maybe even tell Jacob off, to be just like, no.
Yeah.
And like we kind of get that, but I feel like we got like the watered down, this is like draft 4 and 5 version of that, where it's like it's only the important pieces that we need, you
Hmm.
know. Definitely edited for television. Like,
Hmm.
like this is like everybody gets their thing. So yeah, we'll never get to see, Sawyer fully grapple with the idea that like, oh, Jacob actually is real.
Hmm.
He's not just some spook, some ghost, like whatever. Like
Hmm.
sure, like he's seen supernatural stuff before. He knows about the man in black, but like seeing Jacob, the opposite of this guy, like yeah. Like
Yeah.
Sawyer never gets any of that. And it just kind of feels like Jacob's over here saying that like by the end of this conversation, one of you will have to be the caretaker of the island. It's kind of no contest who it's gonna be. It's gonna be Jack. Jack jumped off the boat, you know?
Yeah.
Jack
Yeah.
keeps coming back, and everybody else is just trying to get off. Like there's no contention in that.
Yeah. I really wish there had been, or
Yeah.
Kate would have tried to talk him out of it, or one of the other characters would have been like, maybe I can do it. Like I don't know. I would have liked to see something of that.
Yeah. I would have loved to see Kate, like you said, try and convince Jack. I think having Hurley sort of be like, should I do this?
Hmm.
Like, straight up say that, like, I don't want to,
Yeah.
but like, I feel like I can, like, I've done all this, blah, blah, blah. Like, the numbers, like, bring up the numbers again. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
if things are fated, if things were like fated them and led them to this thing, like the numbers are what led Hurley on this journey. It's like,
Yeah.
do that. It's like, and I think next time I'll try and make somebody not scared of playing the lottery, or something, just
Hmm.
like a joke or something.
Hmm.
And then have Sawyer kind of feels like the odd man out because I don't think he'd ever consider
Yeah.
doing this. Although he does, like there's a lot, that Sawyer's been through, and I feel like, okay, well, like he lost Juliet. He
Hmm.
feels like there's really nothing left for him out in both worlds. It's like, so he really has no place to go.
Hmm.
I feel like maybe that could have been a thing too, where it's just,
It would have had to be like, yeah, you would have had to have seeded this like for this whole season,
yeah.
you know? But still, like that's kind of our thing with Sawyer this season. He's so damn stubborn, getting off and going home. We don't know why. He's just tired of this.
Mhm.
Whereas compared to the first half of the season, he didn't care. He was just sitting there, just kind of waiting to die,
Yeah.
until he met the man in black.
Mhm.
So that kind of would have been interesting. Like, what if he's like, you know, I got nowhere else to go. I'll
Oh,
stay.
yeah. That could be a thing too, where it's like he feels someone like recognizes, even though Jack tells him that like, no, you didn't kill our friends.
Hmm.
Like that guilt is still rooted inside Sawyer, and hearing like, well, I have these abilities, I control the island, I could do this stuff.
Hmm.
Like my abilities could potentially have a way to, destroying the man in black. I feel like that would have been a good point to be like
Right.
power to take vengeance.
Yeah.
Sawyer is immediately in. Like
Yeah.
I finally get to do the thing that started me on my path, revenge.
Hmm.
The reason I was in Sydney, the reason I got on the plane to begin with, to kill the man and kill my parents.
Hmm.
I now get to have the real power to affect real change in that way.
Yeah.
See, boom. See,
Yeah.
why weren't we in this room, Matt?
I don't know, dude. And then Kate as
Man.
well. Like she wants revenge too. Also,
Mhm.
like she wants the power to get Claire back to Aaron. You know,
Yeah.
Like there's motivations there. Like I wish it had been. I didn't want Jack just to be like, well, it's got to be me. Like, no, I want him to convince the others. Like, no, this has to be me.
Yeah.
I have to be the one. And
Hmm.
like I wish, yeah, not that he hasn't earned it, but like I wish he kind of spoke up for it more. I just wish it was more challenging in that last moment, that last
Hmm.
step. It's
Yeah.
Batman Mask of the Phantasm. We see the silhouette of right before he puts on the mask, he hesitates. He hesitates before he puts the Batman mask on because he
Hmm.
knows there's no going back. I wish Jack had that point of no return, and he didn't. It was just conversation, and he drinks some water, and he's like, "Well, I guess we're in now. I guess I'm the guy."
Yeah.
Jacob even tells him, "You're like me now." I wish there was like that point of no return where he has to like think about it one last time
Hmm.
and really question, like, okay, because in a way, it is his faith now in the island or destiny or whatever. He's like, he has to question his own faith. He's like, "All right,
Yeah.
tally ho," you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's good. It's gonna be interesting to see this last episode. Um,
Oof. I'm scared.
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as MVPs, I think everyone did fantastic. I
Yeah.
got it. Everyone did great, but you still got to shout out Michael Emerson for his scenes with Michelle Ferlin, right?
Yes.
Was that her
Yeah.
name? Yeah. Um, yeah, man. Uh, Also, that's kind of what made it more emotional too, knowing that she's passed in real life. Like we're seeing some kind of happy ending for Russo. Not just
Yeah.
Russo, but it's like for her, like Michelle Ferlin, like oh man.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. But yeah, so next week, that's it. We're talking about Lost, season 6, episode 17, the end. The
Oh.
final episode. Now, I know we talked about it before. I remember I did cut one of these conversations out at some point, so I don't know who knows what. If you are watching on Hulu, there are 19 episodes this season. So you need to skip from 16 to 19
Hmm.
because 17 and 18 are the edited versions. You don't
Hmm.
want to watch that. When the show aired, the very last episode was essentially a movie event with limited commercials. That's what we got. Problem was, you can't show that again on reruns because you need to have ads.
Yeah.
So they split it into two parts and they still cut like 20 minutes off the whole thing.
Damn.
So, and then when Lost went to streaming for the first time, they only had the edited cut down two-part version.
Mm.
So
Mm.
I don't know how many years went by. People watching Lost for the first time on streaming didn't actually see the true final episode,
Mm.
because they cut a lot out.
Yeah.
So now it's there. So if you're watching on Hulu, skip ahead to episode 19. I think it's just called The End
It
Uncut
is.
feature or whatever.
Yeah.
Netflix, you're good to go because it doesn't have the edited versions. So
Hey,
yeah.
Netflix doing
Um,
something right for once.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So everyone, Godspeed on that in the final episode. Let us know what you think. I don't know. I'm not ready.
But yeah, yeah. Let me just say this. I don't even know if I mentioned. I think I did mention it, but I'm gonna say it again. Um, I'm truly not prepared.
Hmm.
um, I watched this episode and had my gripes, but I was like, yeah, okay, this was good. This was fun. Can't wait for the next one. And then as I was looking, realized that this was the episode before the finale. And like I got a little heartbroken.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
man, like because like, one, because yeah, like obviously, like I am a fan of the show, and
Hmm.
truly, I don't unless the series finale is like a horrendous event that feels like peeling my skin for an hour and a half. Like
Yeah.
unless that happens, I'm still a fan of the show, and I think I'm always going to be a fan of the show. Beyond that, beyond just talking about the show, like it's end of an era for us.
Yeah.
We started this like
Four and a
4 years
half
ago,
years.
4.5 years ago. That's That's our exact age gap, Matt.
Oh wow, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
man.
Like that's so crazy to me that like we've been doing we've
We
been
took our
doing this.
time. Yeah,
We really took our time.
yeah,
No, hey, we like to talk and we like to talk about a lot of different things. Look, we've
yeah.
watched different shows in
Hmm.
between. We've started and ended different shows in the time that it took us to watch this whole thing.
Hmm.
But this is, I don't know, this has been fun. I know we're gonna get super emotional. We're gonna talk about it, you
Hmm.
know, both next week and then when we do our actual, 200th, episode.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I just want to say preemptively that yes, I have enjoyed watching Lost, but what really sold me on it and what really helped me get through it, and the thing that I really love about watching the show is that I get to talk about it with you every single week.
Yeah, man. I think that's what really made it fun.
Yeah.
Not that the show isn't fun, and not that
Yeah.
I wouldn't have enjoyed a rewatch, but like I don't know. It's just really cool sitting down and talking about it with you, discussing it, uh, tearing it down or lifting it up. It's
Yeah.
just I'm still having fun no matter what.
Yeah.
Even when all your favorite characters die in the same episode, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of curious, like how differently we would feel if we had just watched it, just binged it or whatever on our own, or not
Yeah.
even on our own. Like we could still watch it together, but like more than one episode a week.
Yeah. Yeah. Straight up, I would have finished this a lot sooner,
Yeah, yeah,
but yeah, I also feel like I don't know if I would have enjoyed it as much.
yeah,
It would have been a thing of be like, yeah, that was fun.
yeah. Man, I don't know. I'm excited to see what how we come away from this. You know,
Hmm.
uh, yeah. Well, this is it, listeners. One last episode, and it's a
One
long
last
one.
episode.
One last ride.
One last ride.
We're getting lost one last time. We're gonna need a new slogan. We'll
Oh,
keep this.
dang.
We'll keep this one until we come up with something for Andor. But
Yeah.
listeners, you know what to do. Hashtag Lost Legacies. Find us
Hmm.
online. I'm on Instagram and Threads at Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch, and on BluSky at Matthew Jimenez. Send me stuff. I've really been getting away from social media. Uh, just because everything going on and everything we're seeing in the world right now, but it's still fun. It's still
Hmm.
fun, like communicating and seeing people and talking to people and catching up. So hit me up. I want to know what you thought about this last episode, and hopefully you'll join us in the next couple weeks before we get into Andor.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, join us.
Join us. And same thing with me. Hit me up on the socials. I'm also kind of, I I'm on it more than I would like to, but I'm also trying to like not get off or not be on it as much. So give me a reason to be on it.
Yeah.
Send me your lost hot takes. Send me everything. Send me
Hmm.
whatever you got. I'm on Blue Sky, Instagram, and Threads at Real. That's REEL Texas Weirdo.
So until next time,
Till
everyone,
next time,
get
get
lost.
lost.